Corey, Giannis Antetokounmpo made his decision, $22.8 million, 5 years, staying with the Milwaukee Bucks. And sure, there's a player option and a trade kicker, but he made his decision. He wanted to stay in Milwaukee. He wants to win in Milwaukee. Is this good for the NBA? Are you excited about this?
I think it's great. I mean, anytime somebody signs a $250 million contract, I think that's a good thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think all parties here are winning this scenario. I know there's a lot of people saying, can small market teams retain their superstars? Well, Milwaukee seems to have done it and has not sacrificed quality. Every year, like we talked about, they have either coach of the year and number one seed or one or the other. Like they're just trading places. So I really like this move from Milwaukee, and congratulations to Giannis and his family.
Yeah, this is great for the NBA in the sense that people like you and I care that like small markets have had a hard time retaining their stars over the years, right? Like it has not been easy for these teams to keep their stars in place. And this is what the Supermax was exactly set up for. Here is a superstar, two-time MVP, entering his prime at age 26, and Milwaukee was able to keep him. He didn't bolt to Los Angeles or New York or Miami or wherever, whatever big Chicago, whatever big market you want. And part of that, I think, though, is he didn't grow up here. He didn't grow up in the AAU system. He didn't grow up of dreaming and playing in Madison Square Garden or something. He was just happy to get off the streets of Athens, right? Like the game was providing something different to him. And now that he's got this power and opportunity, he's going to use it differently than LeBron James might choose to use it. But that's all good. This is what it was for, and good for Giannis, like you said, good for the Antetokounmpo family. Maybe not as good for all those teams that were holding their cap space or doing stuff to line him up. I mean, you got to feel a little bit for like Miami and them, right?
No, it's part of the business. I think as far as this is concerned, in my mind, I didn't understand why Giannis would even leave Milwaukee. Like, Kurt, it just didn't make sense. Like, I understand there was the allure, but you already have the number one seed every year, either in the East or the entire league. All you're missing is one or two pieces. You've been able to bring that team from the doldrums to the elite echelon of the NBA. Basically off of Giannis's back, which is pretty amazing. Where else would he go? Like he goes to Miami. Miami got to the Eastern Conference Finals to play Milwaukee. It's like everything is kind of down. It's almost like that Anthony Davis conversation we had last time. It's where does he go that's better than playing with LeBron and the Lakers going for a repeat? In my mind, there was no free agent destination that could have appealed to Giannis if he wants to win a championship because he's already playing at a high level in a place that's already contender. And you can make $70 million more there than anywhere other place in the league. To me, this was like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think the only concern, if you're really concerned about winning, is ultimately, is Milwaukee management willing to spend, willing to take the steps, willing to do it? I think they've shown and committed to him that they are. That was the concern because Miami will. I'm not really concerned about Mark Cuban doing it, and there's other owners around the league in the same boat. So I get why he might have thought that, but I mean, ultimately, when this contract ends or when he can get out and, at the end of the option year, he's still 29, about to turn into his 30-year-old season. He's still in his prime. Like, if this doesn't work, fine. You've given it your shot. You move on then, and you go where you need to go to get a ring. He is giving this team every shot it can.
So the other thing I think is really important here is continuity. They're building around Giannis, and if you have someone in one spot for a long time, like we've seen, like with the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, we see with the Spurs with Tim Duncan. You can even like Steph Curry with Golden State. You can build a program around them and just make those one little piece, like you're saying. Are they committed to winning? This offseason, they try to show that with trying to bring in Bogdanovic, didn't work, and then bring in Holiday.
Yeah, and I think Holiday's a better playoff fit for them. And again, if you're Miami, the question now is, do you pivot, right? Do you shift? Do you think, hey, this didn't really work for me, but this is really ultimately, who wins in this on top of the Bucks and the Bucks fans? James Harden and the Houston Rockets. And maybe, by the way, if Washington ever decides they want to get rid of Bradley, move on from the Bradley Beal experience, but they're in a better spot now because you look at next year's free agency class, and this was this vaunted class, but LeBron signed, Anthony Davis signed, Paul George signed, Kawhi Leonard is going to sign and stay with the Clippers. Like, suddenly the top end of that class is gone, and you're looking at guys like, well, who's left? Victor Oladipo, Rudy Gobert, good players, but not the franchise kind of players we were talking about. And that's why suddenly James Harden's in a good spot, because if you want one of those guys, you're going to have to trade for one, right, with James Harden. And I think that puts Houston in a really strong position going forward, or a stronger position. It gives them some leverage going forward.
So do you think what's going through James Harden's mind going into this season? If you were James, would you not really play a lot? Would you kind of bolster like another, scoring championship to kind of bolster your free agency? What would you do?
I think he's going to go hard and play as well as he's going to. Look, we saw him in the preseason. He's going to have to play his way into shape, maybe a little bit still, but he'll be there. He'll put up numbers. Look, Harden can roll out of bed and drop 30, right? Like I'm not really worried about James Harden struggling this year. So I think, look, from here, that kind of moves on to the next question for us, which is James Harden had his debut and didn't really blow anybody's doors off, but fine, whatever. He's just coming out of first game back, and I'm not really concerned about what James Harden is going to do. But who have you watched? Who have you seen in the preseason, Corey? And you've said that guy, that is the guy I want to get on the bandwagon for because he's really impressed me in the preseason.
It's tough because preseason.
Yeah.
I don't really want to put any stock into preseason just generally, right? I feel like people are getting tuned up and all that jazz. But for me, I was really enjoying watching Kyle Guy. I watched him at UVA. Yeah. And the thing is, at UVA, I've seen him a couple times play at Duke, at Cameron Indoor. And he always just had ice in his veins. And I was like, this guy is just a killer. Every single time in the biggest moments playing for a top 10, top 5 team in Virginia, he always shows up. And he showed up with the buzzer beater last night against the Warriors. And so I like him a lot. I think he's my guy. What about you, Kyle? What do you?
I watched a chunk of that game, that same game. I'll tell you who stood out to me. Your boy, Tyrese Halliburton, looked good, doesn't he? He looks like he can walk in and play minutes there, like meaningful minutes. Granted, it's the Kings, but for them, meaningful minutes. Like he's going to be able to play. He looks like a backcourt fit with De'Aaron Fox already. Like there's some chemistry there, and that's a really promising thing for the Kings going forward. So he looked fantastic. I also really liked. Zion Williamson looked good. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram came right back to where they were with understand Van Gundy now and the changes there. But that team looked really nice going forward. You know what? It was good to see Steph Curry out there. I'm not really shocked that he can. Yeah, by the way, he can still shoot threes. Shocking. From
the logo.
From the logo. He can kind of do whatever he wants. He's looked really good. Some other guys, though, had really, look, LaMelo Ball absolutely has the it factor, doesn't he? Like, he absolutely has that passing skill, that gift. You want to watch him play. He's also 3 of 15 from the floor. Like, there's some work to do there through 2 preseason games, but your eyes are drawn to him, man. You just want to watch him play.
Yeah, it was really cool to see him in action because I thought I kind of, I was trying to look at some of his stuff from overseas and okay, he's an exciting player. I didn't really understand the dynamic of, when he steps on the floor. It is electric. It really is. He's a very fun player to watch. And he sees like one of my favorite things. I watch a lot of soccer, and it's about a player's like creativity, right? Yeah. And especially when you look at like Brazilian footballers, like they're really creative. And I think LaMelo is the same way. Like his creativity when he steps on the court, like it's just like he's having fun and like painting. Like he just goes out there and just creates and invites other people to share in that. Which is just a sweet way to play basketball because that translates to behind the back, no look passes and alley-oops. Like it's just a fun way to play basketball.
Yeah, Steve Nash wasn't kidding when he said guys should play a lot of soccer growing up if they want to be basketball, or play some, because some of the skills translate. Footwork, man, translates to every sport you're ever going to play. I don't care if you're playing basketball, lacrosse, football, whatever. Footwork. Number 2. The vision, the ability to see the big picture, and hockey is sort of the same way. It has some of the same cuts and moves and guys diving in here. And who can see who can be the guy who sees the play happening before it happens and put the puck, or in this case, LaMelo just sees it and throws the passes in a way that, look, Lonzo Ball's his brother, really good transition player, really good, look, he's a solid NBA point guard, but he does not have that gift for whatever reason. Like LaMelo just sees things in a way that not a lot of players in the NBA do, and that makes him just must watch as he starts to develop. There's gonna be some time there. So he is fascinating. He is must watch. That, by the way, is probably not going to move the Charlotte Hornets way up our power rankings. Are they?
No. I was watching them and I'm like, okay, I like watching LaMelo, but the team isn't on my to-do list. It's not my must-watch team right now.
No. And by the and I like the fact that they've got Gordon Hayward there, so it's not just, hey, let's let this kid have the keys. Like they can rein him in a little bit and make it work. But yeah, that's still that team's got a long way to go. And that brings us to talking about the top 10 that's going to be out next week, right before the season starts at Pro Basketball Talk on the NBC Sports page, the NBA page at NBC Sports. And we've been working our way through the top 10. We're up to number 6. That's where I have the Miami Heat. Look, the Miami Heat made it to the finals last year. I'm one of those people who's a little skeptical that they're going to exactly repeat what they did in the bubble. But Tyler Hero's still going to be really good. Jimmy Butler's still going to be really good. They locked up Bam Adebayo. This Miami team is still set for the future, whether or not they get James Harden or go after anyone else.
Yeah, I for me, the question with Miami is outside of the bubble environment, can they dominate? Because the thing about, like, I think the bubble we saw, there was a lot of different factors, right? Like with the Clippers, they kind of struggled with the bubble environment, and I think the Heat culture just trumped talent. For a lot, like their culture was so strong, and they have a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong, but I wonder with travel, and I don't know. I'd be very curious to see them play that far into the playoffs in a regular season. So I'm excited to see what they do. I think they have all they want to run it back. They have the right mentality. They're very competitive. But Kurt, there's still a question of, can they play at that high level all the time? And I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I am too. And look, can Tyler Hero keep up? Look, Miami didn't make a lot of additions. They're just kind of running it back. So if they're going to take a step forward, Bam has to take another step forward and maybe show more of a jumper. And I'm not really worried about Bam. Bam's going to be phenomenal next year. Is Tyler Hero going to be able to do that? All their young players, are they going to take that step and grow with them? I want to say yes, but I kind of, like you said, I need to see it. I need to see Tyler Hero hit some jumpers when, the game's on the line and Spike Lee or somebody is yelling at him from behind and not in this empty bubble. So, I want to see that. I want to see him go through that. But I think they're going to be. I don't as much have that concern with the number 5 team. I actually have the Brooklyn Nets ahead of them. Part of it is I thought Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant looked really good. Kevin Durant, really, and again, we'll see how he moves in a real game. But Kyrie Irving had the handles back, was getting to the rim, looked like his old self. Durant hit some shots where he's just like the defenders in his face, old school Durant. I can just shoot over you, man. I'm 7 feet and I've got a release over my head. Good luck, I thought that they look good. They've still got all the pieces around them. And again, I know they came up in the James Harden and all these other rumors. As constructed, if this thing comes together and Steve Nash can bring them together, and he seems to be winning guys over, like Kyrie Irving's now praising him. If he wins them over, that is a team with all the talent in the world now. That is a team that can contend if it comes together.
I am very optimistic. They looked really good, and once again, this is all preseason, but you can see KD, shaking the rust off and getting back into his ways, which is so exciting if you're a basketball fan, right? And you could see this glimmers of just peak KD when he was out there, but like the ball would be, go in and out or just be a little off, and you could say, yeah, it's 18 months not being on the court. But as soon as he shakes off those that dust, like his form, it's going to be top notch. So, and Kyrie looked, incredible as well, like you mentioned. So I think that team is going to be very, 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 very dangerous.
Yeah, and the guys are getting used to playing around them, right? Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris is still finding spots. All those guys are. Harris in particular, I think, is going to have a monster year. Kyrie's going to drive and kick out, and when Harris gets the ball on the pass or the hockey is passed back to him, he's just going to knock stuff down. That is a really dangerous team if they defend and come together, and they've got all the pieces. I'm high on their potential. That's why I've got them number 5. Number 4, another team I think we saw explode in the bubble that I think is going to have a phenomenal regular season. We'll see about the playoffs. The Denver Nuggets, right? Jamal Murray took his step forward. Nikola Jokic made his star turn, I think, for a lot of people who didn't know how good he was. He's that good all the time. He is an MVP candidate level player. The Denver Nuggets are there, man. The Denver Nuggets are going to win a lot of games this season.
Yeah, I think the question mark for them is Michael Porter Jr. Can he step into the role that Tyler Hero did for the Miami Heat and just carry more of the load? He had moments of brilliance, but when you're trying to be a contender, you need more from your guys, right? You need more. You need consistency from your stars, and I think Jokic has shown that over the past couple of years. Jamal Murray is coming into that. This past year it was very clear that he can consistently put up 30, 40 points a night or whatever that the team needs them to do to be successful. It wasn't enough, but this season, you think you can build off that. You have experience now going forward. So, Kurt, I'm with you. I think they look very dangerous, but the question is, in the Western Conference, can you make it out?
Yeah, look, there's just no margin for error in the West is the problem. It's just going to be really difficult. Look, I'm with you. I actually picked Michael Porter Jr. as an early, like, I hate predictions, like my most improved player, but like I think he could be in the mix for that. If he is in the mix for that, that's such a good sign for Denver, right? That means they're doing it. And can they get stops? Like they were not always consistent with stops. If they're getting defense, if they're getting the stops they need, again, I don't question if they're going to be able to put up points. Can they come the playoffs? Can they stop the other team enough to win? I got a feeling they can. I got a feeling, look, if the Clippers and Lakers don't run away with this thing, Denver is right there, man.
Yeah, sleeper pick. Yeah, and I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see when it comes to like one of my favorite players to watch on that team was Jeremy Grant. And he left. So it's like it's interesting to me too, because I'm like, okay, well, how do you kind of replace? Like, he was such a great role player for them. So for me, it's always back to like Denver's bench. I think the stars are going to give you what they need. I think Michael Porter is gonna, like, he has to step into a bigger role. But when Jokic is off, when Murray's off, where is that firepower coming? Where's the consistency? Where's the defense? Where's the tenacity? So for me, those are the question marks I have with Denver.
Yeah, and I'm completely with you on Grant. He's the guy. He's the guy you throw on LeBron and Kawhi Leonard and those guys in key moments. And if they don't miss him during the regular season, I think they will in the playoffs, unless they find somebody who can play that role for them.